People look at stories through different lenses. I have my own take on some of these trending issues. Hi, I'm Mariah Ramharack and welcome to In Case You Missed It.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of In Case You Missed It on SportsMax and Scene TV. Let's get right to it. In today's show, we hear from a man who has a very captivating story. From the DJ booth to the ice. That's the journey of Benjamin Alexander. He took this on his way to becoming Jamaica's first ever competitor in alpine skiing at the Winter Olympics. The 39-year-old, who was born in Wellingborough, England, to a Jamaican father, Alexander represented the land of wood and water at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympic Games, where he placed 46th in the giant slalom. After traveling the world and earning his living as a DJ for 10 years, Benjamin Alexander, for the first time in his life, put on a pair of skis just 7 years ago. Benjamin, who says he was inspired by the 1988 Jamaican bobsleigh team that was immortalized by the movie Cool Runnings, now hopes to inspire the next generation of Jamaican alpine skiers. He has now taken up the role of managing and mentoring young Caribbean skiers. Let's welcome Benjamin Alexander to In Case You Missed It. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, of course, to have you on In Case You Missed It. Where in the world are you presently?
I am in Korea, so it's 4 a.m. in the morning in the province of Gangwon.
And how are you enjoying the Winter Youth Olympics 2024? You're there for that.
I just arrived a few hours ago. I actually got to my hotel about 1 hour ago because the flight was delayed in. So I'm super excited to see the kids perform in the morning.
Yeah, and you are there, of course, for a very, very interesting assignment. You've been working with some gems, triplets, the next generation of Jamaican skiers. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, I'm super excited to present the Rivers triplets. There are 3 of them. Of course, they are 16 years old, and 2 of them have qualified for these Youth Winter Olympic Games here in Korea. Both of them have raced. They had a giant slalom race yesterday and the day before. The girl did very well, Helena, finishing 39th out of 79 races. And unfortunately, Henry had a small mistake and didn't finish his first run, so didn't put a result onto the board. But they have races today and tomorrow, so really excited for them to put some results on the board.
Yeah, and was it difficult trying to convince the kids' dad, Henry, to let them compete for Jamaica? Because he's from St. Lucia, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he's from St. Lucia. His mother, his partner is from Kingston. And Henry had aspirations for the kids to go to the US ski team. But I think after seeing how much support and love that I got in my own pursuit to the Olympics once I qualified in 2022, he was sold on an idea of kind of having his kids represent our country.
Yeah, and Dad was also a skier. How has this assisted the triplets' journey in the sport so far?
Massively. So I think pretty much all of the athletes that I competed against in the Beijing 2022 Games had parents, if not grandparents as well, who had grew up skiing. Most of my competitors skied pretty much as soon as they could walk. Henry himself is the president of the National Brotherhood of Skiers, which is the largest charity in the world, which supports getting people from diverse backgrounds into winter sports. And Henry has been skiing for 53, maybe 54 years now, most of his life. And so coming from that background just gives the kids a massive advantage above what I had. And hopefully will give us an opportunity to maybe get a medal in the future.
Yeah, looks like this will be some exciting prospects and one for the entire Caribbean to look at. Now, tell us a bit, Benjamin, about your role in the lives of these skiers. What's the agenda, What are you responsible for doing?
Right. So everyone asks that, and the instant assumption is that I would be coaching them. And there are far better people out there to be coaching the techniques to these young athletes. As I said, people that have been skiing their entire lives. And as you said, I just started skiing almost 8 years ago now. My role is to help them understand the qualification process, to make sure that the JOA and the Jamaican Ski Federation don't miss any deadlines. My role is also to help them understand the media side of being an athlete, that is, how to speak to sponsors, how to secure sponsorship, and how to secure financial support for this sport, as it's an incredibly expensive sport. So I've managed to connect them with a lot of my previous sponsors. And this here in Korea is the first time that they are representing our country on the international level. And so the real talks about sponsors for the future begins now.
Yeah, how important is it that, they got a stint at this Winter Youth Olympics, they put Jamaica. Jamaica doesn't need to be represented on the mat. Everybody knows about Jamaica. But how important is it that, where sports like skiing, minor sports, the country is constantly represented?
I think it's important for people on the island of Jamaica to understand that their pathway to becoming an international athlete and to representing the country on the global stage doesn't just have to be the 100-meter sprint, doesn't have to be following in the footsteps of Usain Bolt or Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. I think it's important for people in Jamaica to understand that there are many other sports that can give them a pathway to success, to earning a living as an athlete, and to getting the opportunity to travel the world and represent our country. I also think it's important for the sport of skiing for more nations to understand about them. When I competed in giant slalom 2 years ago, I believe that those two words entered into the vocabulary of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of new people, because there was an interesting character myself that was taking part in that sport. So it's really important for both sides, for the sport as a whole, and also for young Jamaicans and athletes on the island.
Right, and we established at the start of the interview it's triplets. We spoke about two of them. Helena didn't go to the Youth Olympics. She's injured. How big of an injury is it, and will we see her skiing anytime soon?
Absolutely. So she had hip surgery, but she's absolutely fine. She's taking her time back to full speed, shall we say, and so didn't have the opportunity to race in time to qualify for these games. The youth games are only for athletes of the age of 16 through till 18, 19. And the triplets just became eligible to get their racing license last August when they turned 16. Now, because they live in North America, the only races they were able to get to in the qualification window, which ended on the 18th of December, were a couple of races on the North Coast, and Helena wasn't ready for those races. She'll be back and ready to race in this month or next month at the latest.
Yeah, and Benjamin, you've done this before. You have also made history along the way. Assess based on where these triplets are now. How does their skiing future look?
Absolutely incredible. You're looking at someone with gray hair and their beard that didn't start skiing until 2016, and I was able to get to the Olympics. All three of these kids have skied their entire lives. They've had the fortune of going to two of the best ski racing academies in the world and have been ski racing and ski race training for the last 9 years. There's some incredible hopes that surround these kids. First of all, they're going to be the first ever triplets to compete in the Winter Games. And I truly believe the sisters, Hanaya and Helena, could have such a big impact on the sport that they could be compared to the Williams sisters and the impact that they had on the sport of tennis, but for us in skiing. So watch this space. The first big coming out will be in Milan Cortina 2026. But then as a ski racer, you are in your prime, in your early to mid 20s, which will kind of tee them up for 2030 to be real big contenders at those Olympics.
Can you break down for my viewers the work that goes into being a professional skier? It sounds like a lot of work.
It is an incredible amount of work, and I'm blown away and humbled when I see these 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids waking up at the crack of dawn and getting all of their racing equipment ready and getting onto the mountain for a day of training and then taking these huge, heavy skis home to sharpen them and tune them and wax them and get them ready for the next day, which is in of itself a couple of hours of preparatory work. For young athletes, it's an incredible path for discipline and kind of understanding how to take care of your equipment and to take care of yourself. It's just, of all the sports that I've interacted with in my life, it's the one that kind of blows me away by the most amount of work that is required, and the kind of work ethic and the understanding of the sport that's required to be put into it every day in the race course to get better and better and better, and understanding that this is a sport that could potentially kill you. People have died in ski racing. Just adds a whole other wow factor to this sport.
Yeah, very, very dangerous, of course. You have to take necessary precautions. How expensive, we're going to talk money now, how expensive is it to compete in this sport?
I would say that the average European or American family that is putting their child through ski racing is minimally putting $30,000 to $50,000 US a year into that athlete. That is for equipment, coaching, training and transportation to races. And then as you get up climb the pyramid and get to become a World Cup racer, you're easily talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. By that point, of course, you should be sponsored, and a lot of those costs should be covered by your sponsors, and you should be getting equipment for free. But a lot of people have to pay to play as well. So it's an incredibly expensive sport. It's not like buying a pair of football boots in a football or a pair of gloves for a goalkeeper. It's a very, very expensive sport, and we're here to prove that this sport is not just for people that come from affluent backgrounds. I believe that, as with many of these elite expensive sports, some of the best athletes for those sports are undiscovered. They are people of African descent, people of Caribbean descent, of African American descent, who just haven't had the ability to try the sport because they've been kept out by how expensive it is. So yeah, the price of the sport is a big barrier to entry for most.
How difficult has it been attracting sponsors, and how important is it that sponsors come on board?
It's paramount that sponsors come on board and join for this journey. As with myself, I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of my sponsors. Finding sponsors for a niche sport such as skiing is quite difficult, but we do have the X factor, and that is that we are connected to Jamaica, we are connected to the island of Bob Marley, we are connected to the 1988 bobsled team and the movie Cool Runnings. Now, as a marketer working for a company, often you're looking for a story to attach your brand to. And those three things are huge, easy, big hooks to connect to, and something that I had a lot of success with myself, and I'm continuing to have success with the triplets. The fact that they are triplets, and the fact that the Jamaican alpine ski racing team is comprised of triplets, the first ever triplets to go to the games, is certainly going to make this a much bigger media story than my participation in the games was, and definitely makes it a little bit easier to find sponsorship.
Yeah, hopefully it's easy. The next big competition is the 2026 Winter Olympics set for Italy. What's the plan from now till then?
Right. So the triplets are still training at two of the best ski racing academies in the world on the East Coast of the United States. That means that during the winter, they are on snow 6 days a week. Also, there is the desire to try to send the kids to the Southern Hemisphere, whether that's New Zealand, Chile, or Argentina, to have them continue skiing through the summer. They will also participate in the World Championships next February that will happen in Austria. So super excited for all three of them to compete there. And they will just continue to keep racing at the highest level possible to get them in the best shape possible for the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm really excited, I have to say, to see all three of them competing and, doing really well, especially representing Jamaica in such a minor sport. Benjamin, a bit about you now. Since competing at the Winter Olympics in 2022, is it that you're done with this competitively?
I am done with the sport competitively, yes. For me, the kind of pinnacle of my potential achievements in the sport of ski racing would be to compete at the Olympics. In the games 2 years ago, the athlete who had finished just one place ahead of me in 45th position had been ski racing, not just skiing, but ski racing for 15 years. And so for me to bank a top 50 finish was well beyond my expectations. I knew that coming out of the Olympics, the goal would be then to pass the torch on to the next generation. And I truly thought I would just find another athlete such as myself, someone in their mid-20s or early 30s that maybe had been skiing for a while and wanted to give it a shot. I was blown away by the fact that I found the triplets who had been skiing their entire lives and had already been ski racing for near on a decade.
And what about your DJ career? Have you started back?
No, I'm still incredibly involved in a charity that runs events. We just ran a series of events in San Francisco, 16 music events over the course of 24 days. We'll be doing it again in San Francisco in the middle of April for another month. I've now kind of elevated myself to the position of DJing the DJs, so I don't have to be the guy behind the decks choosing the songs. I'm kind of choosing the people that would choose the songs for each night. That's a fun place to be.
Wow, you just keep switching things up. So no more skiing competitively, no more DJing. Will you be skiing recreationally?
Right, yeah, absolutely. So I've already skied 40 days this season. I'm a huge ski addict still. I just came from Niseko, Japan, where there were some incredible conditions, and I will be skiing for the rest of the winter, headed to Canada after this, then back to Montana and Jackson Hole, and then hopefully we'll get some skiing maybe in Aspen. I'm just a ski addict, shall we say. I'll get at least 100 days of skiing this winter.
What would you say has competing at a Winter Olympics taught you?
It taught me to never give up. I actually caught COVID 21 days before the deadline for my qualification, and I truly believed that I would have no chance of being able to qualify, being unable to get into Austria for training, which is where my coaches were, that had an incredibly strict, clear PCR test required before you get into the country. And somehow I made it work. And so the biggest thing that I learned as on my path to becoming Olympian is A, never give up, and B, you never truly arrive. I think a lot of the time we set these goals for ourselves and we believe that life would be better if we just get to ... whether that's a bigger house, a faster car, or whatever it may be, a promotion in life. But you never truly arrive. Life is just this journey, and getting to the Olympics definitely taught me that.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on the future of skiing in the Caribbean?
I'm really excited. As I said, the triplets, and in particular the two girls, I believe they're going to set the whole ski world on fire. I think we're going to see a whole generation of youth that look up to these triplets, the Rivers triplets, and aspire to follow in their footsteps. And I think we'll get a whole bunch more of young athletes of color interested in skiing. I'm also coming to Jamaica for a whole month at the end of May on a program to try to find some aspiring cross-country skiing athletes. So we'll be bringing out some roller skis, which is a summer variation of winter cross-country skis that you can just train on tarmac anywhere in the world. So if anyone is listening is a strong athlete and would like to get to the Winter Olympics, then please hit me up on Instagram. But I believe that the triplets over the course of the next few years will really set the ski world on fire, and we'll get a lot more attention and give a lot more attention to our sport, which is desperately needed.
Yeah, for sure. And you already started doing that when you qualified for the Olympics. What are some of the things you would like to see more of in the sport?
I'd love to see more countries represented. I'd love to see more people of color on the ski hill, especially in the parts of the world where I spend most of my time skiing, which is deep in Canada and deep in the United States. Often I'll get to the end of the day and really haven't seen another person of color, and that's not how the sport should be. The sport should be enjoyed by all people. I'd also like to see more countries at the Winter Games. When I competed in Beijing, there were a record-breaking 91 countries in competition. If you compare that to the previous Summer Games, where there were 206 flags in competition, there's a huge disparity between the two. So I'm hoping initiatives like the Rivers Triplets and what I'm doing with cross-country skiers, hopefully this June in Jamaica, will bridge the gap between between the Summer and the Winter Games.
Any advice for those in the Caribbean interested in skiing professionally?
Yeah, I would say let's look at cross-country skiing first. I believe that the level of transferable skills from a track and field athlete is high. I also believe that the qualification criteria is lower. It's a much cheaper sport, and I believe that it's much easier to get to that qualification threshold, given that you can train on tarmac in the Caribbean. And I'm excited to kind of expand more upon that plan. So cross-country skiing is the next thing I'm focused on.
It's now time for rapid fire time. This is where I ask you a question and you say a word or phrase that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. What do you love most about Jamaica?
Oh, food.
How has your life changed since competing at the Olympics?
I get the opportunity to tell my story on stage all around the world.
The best way to start the day?
Exercise.
What song best describes your life?
Oh, electronic music.
Which accomplishment are you most proud of?
Definitely the Olympics.
Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram.
If time and money was not an issue, what hobby would you pursue?
I would fly in fighter jets for fun.
All right, most beautiful country you visited?
Ooh. Maybe Namibia.
That's interesting. Next question though. Biggest pet peeve?
Gluten-free people.
I feel like I understand. Best advice you've ever received?
Slow down. Go slow to go fast.
Yeah. Well, that's some good advice. Well, that was really some good fun. Let's now head across the social media to see what's been trending. So we had this graphic from the Jamaica Gleaner. This was following his last-minute qualification to the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics last Friday. Jamaica's alpine skier Benjamin Alexander is now eyeing a role in the Jamaica Ski Federation. What say you about this article?
The Gleaner have been amazing. They've been very supportive all the way through. And this is exactly what's happening. We are now at this point where I'm kind of putting my money where my mouth is, and we are supporting the next generation. That's why I'm right here in Korea. And I'm excited to do more. And like I said, I think cross-country will be that.
Okay, let's take a look at another social media graphic. We have this one from Central Caribbean Sports. Olympic debut, Helena Rivers, making her debut at the Youth Winter Olympic Games. And of course, they put the results. She finished 39, Jamaican proud. So the support for the triplets now has, of course, started.
It's only just begun. I can tell you from my own experiences, the media were big fans of my story. And I'm just some old dude that just was a DJ. The triplets are going to be absolutely incredible and loved by the media. I'm super excited to see how big they get.
All right, let's take a look at one more reaction on social media. We have this one from the IOC Media. And of course, they're speaking about Ganyun 2024, blazing the trail for gender equality. They also went on to say the YOG Ganyun 2024 are continuing the strong gender equality legacy of the YOG and are providing an equal platform for the young male and female athletes. I know you just got there, but how proud are you to see, gender equality being, of course, pushed?
It's amazing. It does come with some difficulties and some complexities that I faced also as a competitor in Beijing 2022, which was the first of all Olympics that aimed for gender equality. But I think it's important. Right now in my sport of skiing, there are 50% more male ski racers that are registered in the international database. I believe that now there is gender equality at the highest tier of competition. Hopefully that means that there'll be equality in the number of female racers that decide that they want to kind of join the men in this sport. So it's all good. A rising tide rises all ships. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, Benjamin, I want to thank you so much for your time and wish you best of luck to your athletes at the ongoing Youth Olympics.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and viewers, the Winter Youth Olympics is showing live daily on SportsMax, SportsMax 2 and the SportsMax app. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's In Case You Missed It. Be sure to like, share and comment. Let me know who else you'd like to see me interview on In Case You Missed It. Goodbye for now.